Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular scheduled meeting for our Page County School Board for August 10th, 2026. And also we need a motion for Mr. Bodgwick to attend via phone call.
I'd like to make a motion to allow Mr. Bodgwick to attend via phone.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Breeden?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Bodgwick?
He said yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Okay, we have a roll call vote now.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Bodgwick?
Yes.
Mr. Breeden?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Have a moment of silence. Join me in standing in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody's had the agenda posted and everybody been able to look at it. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda? I don't see any. We'll have approval for that.
I make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
A second.
Got a motion and a second?
Mr. Bodgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Breeden?
Yes.
Mrs. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. We have the overnight field trips that has been posted and also the religious exemptions. Any questions on that before we entertain motions? Need a motion to approve those.
I make a motion to approve the overnight field trips and religious exemptions. I'll second.
I got a motion by Ms. Bryan and a second by Ms. Henry.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Bodgwick?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Breeden?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. All right, so now we have informational review of the meeting, June 2026. Any questions on those? I don't see any, so anything, Ms. Comer, we need to know on that? Okay, very good. We'll go to monthly financials. Ms. Miller.
Good evening, school board members. Dr. Huber, I have presented you with the month ended July 31, 2026 financial statements. It's hard to believe that I'm standing here presenting to you a new fiscal year already, but here we are. The expenditures for July were $3,529,599.90. With this, you have also been provided with the local match calculation that we did balance with the treasurer's office. Before I move on with the FY27 update, any questions regarding the July financials? I will make note, at the bottom of the financials, I have included the expenditures by object code as I did last year, but I also included the budget for us to see as we look at that breakdown, what the budgeted numbers are, and then we can compare as we go through the year by object code, and then also comparing to FY26 as well. I have a very short slide for you for the FY27 budget update. On the left-hand column, you will see the FY27 adopted budget, as you have seen before, with the state revenues and federal, other revenue, and local revenue broken out there. Now, we didn't receive the calc tool from the state until July. It was very, very late this year. So what I have in that next column over would be the FY27 calc tool based on that same average daily membership at 2775. So comparing what we actually budgeted to what the calc tool stated when we received it in July. So you can see, keeping federal, other revenue, and local revenue the same, you can see that the state revenue, based on the calc tool from the state, is significantly less than what we have budgeted by $1,146,317. Now, the reason for this is when Dr. Huber and I were analyzing the House and Senate crossover sheets, because that's all we get anymore. We don't get a calc tool the way the state used to put out one to actually budget from. You just get crossover sheets. So we try our best to look at those, compare those, and make our best judgment of what those revenues are going to be. There was an additional supplemental support for operations that was in that budget, which was quite large. So we did budget for that. However, it didn't make the final cut when we received the final budget. However, we did not commit those funds. We did not commit those funds to any project or department. I, in a way, sort of stashed those funds not knowing what would happen when we got the budget, the final budget. So we are aware of that difference, and we can account for that difference and make up for it. And so if you look in the column to the right, the mitigation, we have held back approximately $920,000. This would be salaries and benefits for some positions that we are not moving forward with at this time. That was $920,000, and then we have breakage of about $908,000. Now, this breakage would be the difference between what we have budgeted in our salaries to what we're actually going to spend for different reasons. It could be that we had retirees who are making a higher salary than those younger teachers coming in. It could be maybe positions are being covered by a part-time position, several different reasons, but we're calculating that and knowing what our breakage is. So the total together would be $1.8 million. So if we take the difference between those savings and that 1.1 that we over budgeted the state revenues, we have that delta of $682,533,000. So that's what we have to play with there. Dr. Huber and I would like to hold back at least 1% of our budget, at least 1%. And so if we were to calculate that, you're looking at $477,000 that we would like to have just as, you never know what's going to come up. So, we want to end our year with a little bit extra. So we're good there. If you will look at the second slide, what I've done on that one is I've taken, again, our FY27 adopted budget at 2775, so same as the first slide. But then I've compared that to the calc tool that the state actually sent us, and they, as you know from last year, the state will project what they think our ADM is going to be. So the calc tool that they sent us was actually based on 2756 average daily membership, so 19 fewer students. So I have listed there the state revenue according to that calc tool. So our difference is $1.3 million there. However, when you go again over to the mitigation and you're looking at that total savings and our delta, we still have extra there. Now, can I say that we have a whole lot of room to play with this year? I don't think we do. However, as you know, I spent a good bit of time starting back in, I guess, November of last year, starting to go line by line and trying to fix our different lines. So I feel comfortable with our budget this year, actually budgeting on those lines so that we know we're going to have expenditures. And at other years, we may have been spending on lines that we didn't really have anything budgeted. Questions regarding this update?
I guess the first question I would have is, do we get in touch with our representative about these delays and getting a final approved budgets for the state? Or do we need to get together with them and just say, we need a much better timeline?
I think that's a valid point.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need to do it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
I have a question, but mine doesn't pertain too much to the financial part as it does to Dr. Huber for personnel. for years, we have been holding positions back. My question is that stunning the students from being able to choose things at the high school level, at the middle school level, and what is it doing at elementary? Is it making our class sizes high?
In some cases it does, for sure, but we try to hold back positions that maybe haven't been filled for consecutive years, but are still in our salary lines. We also look at what's a acceptable class size versus what we have. Meaning, for elementary, we might say our ideal size is 18, but we're running 12 in a particular grade level. If we can hold back a position and stay under 18, that's how we do that.
That makes sense on that scenario. But when we're cutting or not funding positions that are out there, and we have one in our personnel packet tonight, and I know we're not able to talk about personnel to that degree openly, but I'm just concerned about tying the hands of some of the schools when they're looking for it to do something, and then they find out they can't because it's being held back, and it sends them in a tailspin to fix it.
I agree. And that's why we have to continue to look at our budget. I agree with you.
But we make those decisions at what point? I mean, right now, I know we made it now, but probably earlier than that, I would think.
We do, and then we also have to look at enrollment, right? And that's coming in the beginning of the year. So we have to carefully watch that.
And I know the state has a set mandate that what grade level have at, and subject for the high school, how many students can attend. And I know we're well below that.
We are.
So, but there's a lot of questions coming in about class sizes, reducing 2 schools. So, you know, some people are going to want to really hit home on that, how much more of an increase. If we're sitting at 18, it might be to our advantage to say the state says that we can have 24, or whatever the number is for each grade level or content area, and saying we're trying to maintain this, but it's costing us this.
Correct.
So, because there's a lot of questions coming.
Yes, sir. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, facility study update.
Yes, sir. Okay, good evening, members of the board. To the audience, I apologize if you can tell I'm losing my voice a little bit this evening. So if I have to kick it off to Dr. Johnson to fill in, I will. But thank you again, board members, audience, those at home watching, for joining us this evening, and those who came out tonight. I know the storms might have gotten in the way, but I appreciate your attendance and your engagement. So just as we get started, tonight is another opportunity to take a deeper look at the financial pressures driving our discussion around consolidation, school construction, and review the options that remain on the table, and also outline the next steps. I want to start by just saying, even before we get to the agenda, that we have the same commitment we've made throughout the process, right? There's not a chart I can present, a building or budget line that could drive a decision that's of this magnitude. We have to look at student needs, enrollment, staffing, to Mr. Breeden's point, building conditions, transportation, finance, and long-term sustainability of the entire division together, and look at that holistically. This is an update and a discussion on those items. Slide 2, agenda. Tonight, I'll move through 4 areas. First, I'll update our progress in communication. Second, I'll walk through the financial and facility pressures. And third, we'll look at both the comprehensive master plan options and the intermediate options we've developed. Lastly, I'll close with the next steps and the input that we need from the school board, board of supervisors, and our community. So just an update on progress. This first section is about progress and transparency. one of the most important responsibilities in a process like this is making decisions that are transparent. And I think as a board, you've committed to that, and we have as well as a school division. So to revisit master plan progress summary of where we're at, remember this process started many months ago, years ago, and we wanted to update to make sure the community knew who was involved with this master plan development. And that includes our school board, our board of supervisors, our facility committee, which was comprehensive across the division, as well as our school administration. We're currently in that August to September 2026 timeframe at the moment. Next, looking at an update for you. This is an exciting piece when we talk about transparency, and the public comments and feedback from our last meeting really drove a lot of the development of this page. So I want to thank everybody that gave some feedback about, we want to see, where did this come from? Where can I find information? And so we've worked very, very hard to develop this landing page. And there's just a couple of screenshots here in the next two slides that capture that. But I do want to recommend that everybody use that email address, facilities@pagecounty.k12.va.us. Please send your comments, your questions, and we will continue to respond and update as we have that information for you. This is another update. We now have YouTube meeting links. For every one of the meetings that we've talked about this matter, you now have a YouTube meeting link that directs you not just to the presentation, but also the meetings and the discussion and dialogue that's happened amongst the board and our joint members. Moving on to financial impacts and facilities. This is a considerable part of this presentation. First, we want to talk about long-term fiscal responsibility and LCI. This slide shows you our LCI, our local composite index, which means that is the way the state funds our schools. This number dictates how much the locality is responsible for spending to fund our schools. The higher that number goes, the less funding we receive from the state, and the more the locality has to fund. You can see from 2016 to now, that number has drastically risen, and unfortunately, it has created a compounding effect on our long-term fiscal stability and responsibility. How it's calculated. This is a great slide that shows how LCI is calculated. In our division, like many rural divisions, this is a recipe for budget concerns because of these factors. Our property values have either stayed the same or increased, which tells the state we have a higher ability to pay, right? That's the first issue. The second is our student enrollment is going down. So the state is expecting us to pay more, but we're getting less per pupil. So that number's going down. Our LCI is going up. Our local share of SOQ is going up, so we have more pressure on our budgets. This graphic really helps to illustrate what LCI means and how a community like ours that has higher real estate values that are increasing, but decreased enrollment, and what happens to our division. So look at student need. I want everybody to digest that slide for a minute. This is economically disadvantaged students in our school division at the elementary and middle school. So you can see from 2019 to 24-25, which is the last publicly available data that I would share publicly, Look at the increase. These are students that are economically disadvantaged. Anywhere from 30 to 40 percentage points. The next chart shows you how this LCI and the tax base is affecting us as a school division and as a community. You can see our local share is increasing. That's the green line. The blue line is the state share. Looking back to 2016, quite the gap. As you look forward to the next biennium, that gap is shrinking. This next chart shows you another comparison. From FY21 to now, our ADM has gone from 3214 to 2,775 students. However, the state funding formula has us as a locality spending far more per pupil than it did in 21 and responsible for that share. I'm going to extend this even further. Just take a look at this. There's a lot of data, so I want to take my time as you look at the data and think about what it means and what it's showing. Again, it's showing if we're projecting out to FY30 at the same rate that our ADM is dropping and our LCI keeps going up, the delta between those data points. That's a concerning, unsustainable path in our current model. And it calls for something different. It is unsustainable. There are no signs that our ADM will increase, and many of the properties being purchased do not have students attending schools. This next chart shows you our tax base, our rising local share, and our shrinking state share. Same picture. So the state believes from an LCI calculation that we can afford more. However, our ADM is not keeping pace and our student needs are increasing. So moving from LCI, the next picture is this. And whether you're in education or elsewhere, you feel the pain of health insurance, right? In your own jobs or in your own lives, this chart shows what that looks like in our school system. This is our data. 0 is our baseline in 2020, 2021. And you can see how fast health insurance is outpacing salary increases, the salary index. And the school division locality is picking up all of that all the way. And I want to show that a little more simple for you if we go to the next slide. This is what we call local pressure. When that happens, local pressure increases. So if we take into account our LCI, our local ability to pay, and we look at that salary and health insurance by itself with no other factors, not even buildings, this is what's happening. So just for next year, just to stay even, we need another 925,000. The year after that, another almost 1 million. And the year after that, almost 1.1. Local share, not state. So when you hear the budget come out and says that teachers got a 4% raise and it's state funded, that's false. That's not true information. because of our LCI and our SOQ positions. That's the local impact and the local pressure that our locality has to absorb. While our ADM falls, our student needs go up. Moving forward, so we've talked about LCI, we've talked about salaries and health insurance, now let's talk facilities. This chart shows our current approved CIP plan through 29 by category. Orange is HVAC, in case you were wondering. But you can see it varies by year, anywhere from 5.5 million to almost 9. And that's across the division, just to maintain what we have. If you go to the next slide and you look at a school such as Springfield, we are deferring all of our CIP, which means we're not doing them because we're holding on as long as we can and doing just what we can to keep the buildings open. So Springfield alone, deferred, you can see what we've already not done and what's coming in the next 2 years. So solutions. Some of this is repeat, but I want to remind everybody this has been a process. What's in the box are the current solutions, long-term, that we're looking at. And we've gone over these before. They're also on the website. Additional options that have come up that could garner consideration are on the screen. 2 pre-K through 7 schools using our current high schools and creating a new central high school. Second, a consolidated 7 through 12 and a consolidated pre-K through 6 using our current high schools. I do want the board to know, if we were to look into that, there are additional costs for development and review. So intermediate solutions. Hopefully the financials show we have to do something, right? Even if we made a decision today on options 2, 3, 4, or 5, a shovel in the ground doesn't happen for many more years. So we need to decide if we're going to do something now. That's where these intermediate solutions come in. The first is what we presented last meeting. Option 1, consolidate to 3 elementary schools, redraw boundaries, and eliminate waivers. Savings, 1 year. Personnel, $635,000. Operational, that's what keeps the lights on, $163,000. Capital are things we would have to do to keep the building running, $283,000. That's 1 year. Extrapolate that down 20, you can count on that personnel always being there. Capacity and enrollment predictions. This has been a question, and it came up. Mr. Breeden, you just asked earlier. What would this look like? You can see grade levels served, capacity, and average class sizes. These are averages. Well below the DOE requirements, and well below our standard as a school division. More comprehensive is option 2, which would close Shenandoah and Springfield next year, go to 2 elementary schools, redraw boundaries, and eliminate waivers. Savings are much more significant, almost 4 times. Again, you can take personnel and multiply that out year after year after year. What does this look like? This is not new. We shared this last time. However, the question did come up about drive time. How is that calculated? And you can see that in your slides. The firm that we are using runs a spatial routing analysis with software, calculates driving distance, travel time from every student's home to every school using actual street networks complete with speed limits, one-ways, and turn restrictions, not straight as a crow flies distance. Then we automatically rank the schools for each student from nearest to farthest, and that's how those drive times are calculated. This is what it would look like for middle schools and high schools. Again, capacity and enrollment predictions. Class sizes, capacity. It's not a secret at Stanley, the capacity percentage is high. This would require further development, further investigation, and look at our ADM as we continue the discussions. Other impacts. This is a big one for our staff, concerns about what happens if a school closes. Where do I go? Assignments are based on attrition, retirements, and licensure qualifications. As teachers retire, leave, go to another school division, choose a new profession, our current teachers would be assigned to areas by licensure. Impacts are yearly, depending upon turnover of staff and enrollment. Our priority will always be to keep our people. And through that process, we hope that would occur. Mm-hmm. Other considerations are budget reductions. What have we done other than talk about closures and consolidations? And here's a quick look. Just for this fiscal year, we've eliminated 4 administrative positions, 3 at central office, over $400,000. We reduced our personnel footprint by 12, over $1 million. We continue to defer our maintenance, over $8 million next 2 years that we will not do. We eliminated raises for our administrators this year, over $100,000, and we eliminated health insurance plans previously offered at $132,000. So next steps. This is all about input and transparency, and that's why everybody's here and listening at home, and we hope that continues. So please continue to do that. RRMM will be back in September to give a master facility plan presentation for review and action. We will create a consolidation facilities task force. I've asked Dr. Johnson to lead that for our division. Ongoing dialogue and community conversations. And of course, weekly facility study updates on our website that we commit to do every week as we work through this process. So before I end, I apologize for my voice, that you had to listen to that the whole time. But I hope it gave good information, transparent information. I hope it helps explain things. And board members, I'm happy to take your questions.
Well, I don't have a lot of questions, but I have a couple comments. And there's some history here that I want to share with some folks. So last October, with a different board, only Ms. Bryan and myself were on the board at that time. We found out after we went to the Board of Supervisors about a CIP or a vehicle, and found out that we had a budget issue. And when we heard that issue, the first response I had was because we had debates about an audit or issues before where we were coming in zero for 2 years in a row, which is almost impossible to come in at zero for your budget. And what happened with that, we went back to some audits and we found out that we actually came under budget for our first couple years that I was on the board. And I think Dr. Johnson showed us at one time where it was like a 10-year period that we actually returned a little over $2 million, I believe it was, back to the county. And what used to happen was, if we would be under budget, we would go back to the county and say, can we have that money back so we can do some CIP? We had a bus fleet that was floundering a little bit as well. We've got shored that up a little bit. But what we did, I said, well, let's go back and look at the audits. And we went back and looked at the last 2 years for FY24. And what we found out was we were 376,000, almost 377,000 over budget. And that was the first time in a long time that ever happened. And then we looked at FY25 and we were at $448,000 over budget. So 2 years in a row, we were over budget, almost close to almost $1 million. And then this year, we found out after the BOS meeting that we didn't know what we really had. And we lost Dr. Huber, so Ms. Miller and Dr. Johnson had to step in. And what we found was we didn't know we had a $1.9 million budget problem or we had a $1.6 million revenue problem. And I didn't know if the budget problem plus the revenue problem would have been 3.5. So we didn't know what we had. But what we ended up doing was it was about a 1.98, and we started doing cost-cutting measures. And just understand, we cut out like $900,000 of money to where we had to end up going to the Board of Supervisors and asking for $1 million to true up this year. And hopefully the audit's going to show that, and hopefully we'll be under a little bit there too. But we'll wait and see what happens. But what we had was we had COVID that came on, and we had a lot of grants and a lot of COVID money, which kind of caused this inflation, by the way. Government spending usually does. We had COVID, and we had all these grants, and we were using it to do CIP updates, which is AC updates and a lot of other things in our schools. And what happens is when you put something new in, that means you got to maintain it. So our CIP now has to have some times of updating and maintaining things. But what happens is we've had a crunch, and I know at the last couple years, the former superintendent was adding positions at the central office. And Ms. Bryant can tell you, we were asking questions like, how can this be? How can we know COVID money's running out, grant money's running out, and yet we're adding positions in the central office? So when you see that we reduced the central office footprints at 412,000, it's because of that. And not only was it positions, and that's a personal thing too. I mean, that's somebody who's worked in our division for a long time, who's part of the family, and we got to say we can't keep funding this way. The other thing that happened while COVID money was going down and our ADM was going down, and we were tracking it and we were talking about it only from the 1 year budget. And now we're looking at it, okay, what has that done to us? And just so everybody knows, when you're taking almost 500 students out, you're looking at $5 million less money from the state. So this year, Dr. Huber, he moves into town. He puts his 2 kids at Luray Middle and Luray High School. Well, that's $20,000. There's a family calls me up, says, I think I might want to take my kids from homeschool into the school system. And I said, let me help you do that. 2 kids came in. That's another $20,000. I saw the other day, I think a teacher is moving in, a new teacher, and she's moving her children into the system. So between those, you get an extra $60,000 that will help with the ADM, but we could also lose 6 students. And that number fluctuates the whole time. So when we talk about this revenue, it's nothing simple. And what we're looking at now, if you look at those, for the salary and the benefits and the increases, if we keep our footprint the way it is now, at the levels that we have right now, we're going to have to go back to the Board of Supervisors next year and ask for $1 million more. And if something breaks down in one of the CIPs that we're deferring, we're going to have to make a decision to fix it and ask for even more money. So when we talk about taxes, you're going to keep seeing your taxes go up as our numbers go down. Or we don't pay raises. Or we give money back to the state for the raises. Or we don't fix something that needs to really be fixed and make some shoestring fixes on it. So we don't want to be in this position. And when you ask people wonder why we're doing it, that's the reason. COVID money went down. We had budget issues of two years, and then a big budget issue last year. And I remember Ms. Miller saying, "Can you come in and talk to us?" And like, I feel like this whole thing's falling on me. And I said, no, we're going to be honest, and we're going to talk about it with the supervisors and tell them exactly what's going on. And that's what we did. And now we are in a much different place with that relationship with the Board of Supervisors. But the budget issue is the budget issue, and it's going to be a budget issue this year. We're going to have to be holding money back already. You've seen the numbers. And we're going to probably have to watch our spending in each school. So we had teachers last year buying stuff for their school, for their classrooms, because we were holding money. And we're going to have another budget struggle this year. So when you're wondering why we're doing this, why we're talking about it, these numbers are real. I encourage you to look at them. And I think you did a great job of laying it all out. And by the way, I went to Grove Hill Elementary. Nobody wants a school shut down. The question is, do you continue want to pay tax, more and more tax, to keep it open? And that decision was done so many years ago that Grove Hill wasn't the cost effective enough to keep open. And that's the same decisions that we're here now. And I know it's emotional, and I know people are probably angry. I get it, because I'm still smarting a little bit over Grove Hill. But I understand it, I particularly understand it now. So that's kind of the comments that I have, and I appreciate what you've done, and you, Ms. Miller, and all the stuff that you've done. Dr. Johnson, is a good report, and it's a lot of work that's been put into it. And it's a heavy time right now. I'll just say that from a budget perspective. Anybody else got a comment?
I have a few from just speaking with the community members. Some of the notes on additional options, I think some of those that were mentioned, I think the slide 21 for anyone that wants to go back to that, if you review this recording, those additional options were, it said pre-K through 7. So I do want us to be cautious that some of the community members and personally myself, I don't know that seventh graders go in a primary school structure like that. So I think we want to be cautious in how we look at those divisions and separations as we consider additional options. I still think we have some questions from the RRMM group that we don't have answered, and I don't know where that may fit into the discussion, but capacity, for example, they continue to show us certain capacity levels, and I'm not sure how that's being calculated by them, what they're using in that statistic. So personally, I think there's a lot of information we're still missing to make these decisions. Average class size is something that's definitely come up from the community. We've talked about it a couple times here. I do want to make a comment just based on something Mr. Painter has said. He mentioned that raises, you may have to give money back to the state. So just for awareness, because I've learned this in the last few months myself, the state may come and say, give your teachers a 4% raise. The state only funds 1% to 2% of that. And then we as a community have to come up with the other 3% to 2% of that. So that's where it may sound funny of why would you give money back to the state, but the state puts regulations around every single dollar they hand out. They want to tell you how to spend the money, which makes these budget discussions really difficult, is a great word for it. So just some context there as we all kind of look at the big picture together.
One of the questions I have, and I didn't see it, just keep coming to me through email and meet and greet out in the community. And I see their point on this. I don't see where the option is to leave what we have as it is until we come to a conclusion on what we're actually doing, building a school, moving a school, whatever. A lot of the people who've contacted me, and I think some has contacted the rest of the board as well, it doesn't make sense to move a kid and then within 2 years build a school and move the kid again. To me, it's the public's decision if they want to keep supporting a school that is costing us $1.2 million, or combined with Shenandoah and Springfield, what was your slide, $4 million? So do you want that to keep coming out and leave it as it is? I think it's a big question that the community needs to know. I know what my preference is. I know what my preference is for the students, and that is figure out what we're going to do long-term first, and then work backwards to move up to that. So if we're going to build new schools, fine, we know that, then in the interim, if we need to consolidate to save money to help build those schools, help fund those schools, that makes logical sense. What doesn't make logical sense, and I've been in this community long enough to know that if we consolidate the schools now and close those two, board changes, minds changes. So if we make that decision now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, what's to say they're not going to then build the new schools or renovate the new schools? They're going to say, no, you're going to do this. So the question that I have is, if in the foresight that they're going to do that, what is the CIP money that would take our schools as they are now, that we've not been funding because we've been trying to save that money, to then put back into those schools to make them more operational? So I know that's a huge money, because on one slide, I think you had $8 million that you were keeping. So that's another tax impact. So in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter which way you're going, taxpayers are getting the brunt of that. It's what decision path that we're going on. Another comment is, some people's contacted me about the facility study site. They're getting access denied. They can't get into some of the documents that you click on the link and go there. Makes you request for the information. And one particular person said, I've requested it on August 1st. I've not gotten nothing. So I've asked for a screenshot. They've sent that to me, but I don't know what they were clicking on to get the access denied. So, and I just got that today. So more investigation on my part, I'll do. But if one person's getting it, how many other people are getting it, if we're going to put up that site to give information and then they can't get to it? So I can understand how that can be frustrating when they're trying to get information and then they say, well, they're not being transparent enough. We're trying to be transparent, just little glitches of trying to fix something and get it up and get it so you can see the information. Sometimes there are glitches. So when we're aware of them, I'm sure they'll get them fixed. But there are some glitches. It's hard decisions on us. But, and I'll step out on my own, this decision to close a school necessarily did not come from the school board. It was precipitated by the Board of Supervisors. And I know that may anger some people on the board because of the good relationships we have, but I just feel like they're putting it on us to do the dirty work and they take the back seat. I don't think that's fair to us. If they want to cut a school, they can do that automatically because they just don't fund us $2 million, and that would mean we have to close a school. So, and then our hands are tied because the money all comes from them. So, you know, you try to be nice and try to and go down that route, and that's why we're putting our necks out and looking at each thing and how can we do it. And you're here to hear us, but it is about the tax money and it is about what the Board of Supervisors decide. So we're also limited by what we can do because of how we're funded. So if we decide one thing and they said, no, we're going to cut you $2 million, well, then it's on us to find that $2 million where to cut it. Does that mean still closing 2 schools, even though the board decides that we don't want to close a school, but we're almost forced to because they're not going to fund it? So it's a hard decision, and some will take heat and some won't. So,
And to kind of add to that, when we were talking about remaining open as is, the public needs to be aware that the continued stress, the financial stress, is going to stay in each building, on each teacher, and that could also eliminate an increase for our educators, and there is already a shortage of them. So let's look at the big picture as if we stay open as is as well. I mean, we've already cut them back drastically last year. We're moving to do that again this year. We keep things as is, that gets tighter and tighter. So while we absolutely have to take into consideration our students, we also need to think about our staff. They will continue to feel the restraints of the budget as well.
If we could, that part, who's controlling the slide? You are, Maria? If you could go back to that bar chart that shows the benefits and the salaries.
This one?
No, keep going. Go up a little bit more. That one, that blue one right there. No, keep going. Right there.
Let Blake know.
All right.
16.
16, Blake.
16, Blake. Slide 16. So to Mr. Breen, to your point, next year, when we're making our budget, we're either going to put in $950,000 to give our staff salaries and health insurance, or we're not.
Correct.
Now, when I came on board, 2019, Miss Weekly from Page County Middle School, she says, I've been teaching in this division for 24 years, and 6 of those years I haven't gotten a raise. So we're back to that decision again. Now, I want to also point out, we kind of went over it, but so Mr. Kale back there, a lot of our administrators didn't get raises this year. And when I walked by him, I kind of put my head down. But we held back, and it didn't make a lot of people happy, I'm sure, because you worked hard, and we had to go through a budget problem of all things. But those are decisions that we got. And if you wait 3 years, you're looking at
It
$950
doubles.
to almost $1 million. You're talking $3 million
Yeah.
that we're going to either have to ask for, and they're going to have to raise taxes, or we have to make one of these moves, or 2 of these moves.
And free salary. So that means you stay on your step and you don't get a salary increase.
Exactly.
So there's lots of decisions to be made because of the money issue.
Yep.
So if the money just fell like rain today,
And no capital improvement. You got to include in capital improvements too. So-
it would be great and it would be heaven. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, money doesn't fall from heaven like that.
Right.
So it's very difficult to decide. But at the bottom line, we have to look at always doing what's in the best interest, 1, for the student, 2, for the staff. So, and then 3, for the community at large, because they're the ones who's funding it. So, and that's why we're holding these meetings. If you go to the facility study site, it lists all the meetings. Make sure you tune in or come, and be sure you're heard, because we're making decision. Nothing's been determined, and we're making a decision on what we hear from you. So we need to hear.
Miss Bryant made a point that I'd like to add into about our teachers. There was a teacher that I spoke with, and school isn't not. I'm not going to name names or anything, but that teacher had to fund, as you guys have mentioned, some of their own supplies, and it made the second semester hard for that teacher because their personal budget got restrained as well. You know, there's only so much we can all pull out of our personal budgets unexpectedly. So they were able to do a certain amount for first semester, but then that next semester got a little hard, which isn't fair to the students when you look at that perspective. It's not fair to our teachers. And we've all been talking about what is the right step. And one of the things that I personally like about blending the school, and Ms. Bryant's mentioned this previously, it blends our resources. So when we look at the fact that we're tight on teachers right now, there are also programs we don't even offer. There was one parent that mentioned, I'm not considering sending my kids to the high school level. That student is in our middle school, but they're not considering coming to the high school when she gets to that age because they don't have an arts program. We don't have a theatric program. And she's going to go to a school system that does. That's where we could be blending those resources to say, can we add an arts teacher? Can we add a theatrics teacher to where maybe there's somebody in science, because of course that's a core subject that you have to put somebody in. Maybe there's a science teacher out there that's got a love for theatrics that would just fit immediately into that role. So you might blend the schools and not need that science teacher anymore, but you take their talents and you take their qualifications to find where they could fit in what we want to do for our students. So it's so much more than the budget's important. That when we run our households, that's the first thing you look at, right? Can I splurge on eating out a convenient dinner because my budget says XYZ? So we look at that first, but there are so many other things that are important, students, educators, and the long term.
And I'll add to that point, because I've been contacted about this as well, about not funding the schools for the teachers to get supplies for their classrooms. I hope that's not our first cut that we make, because they took that hit last year. So I hope that that's not the first cut that goes this year.
Sounds like that is.
We'll watch that. We'll do what we can. We'll watch that.
Any other comments on this presentation?
That everybody looks at me because I haven't spoken yet.
We haven't said anything yet.
But essentially, I'll echo the sentiment of all my fellow board members. But we have not made a decision, and we've got a difficult road ahead of us. Just with being good stewards of our citizens' tax-paying dollars, right? You've seen some of the difficult things that we've done, but what lies ahead of us is really making sure that we are caring for our educators, right? They are the soul that breathes life into our students. And yes, the students are our number one, but we can't do any of this without our educators. And when we look at the budget challenges that we're facing, and to be able to sit in front of teachers and say, hey, we can't justify a pay raise because we did elect to keep the school open, that's a really hard choice, right? And so again, we do face a lot of challenges ahead of us. But again, we want your impact, right? If your feedback says, "Hey, Board of Supervisors, we'll take another property tax increase, and that'll help us keep a school open," then maybe that's the feedback we listen to. But again, it takes all of us, right? And we've got some difficult decisions to make. So please show us grace along the way.
If there's no other comments, we'll go to our policy update. Ms. Clark.
Good evening, Board. In front of you this evening are just a few policy updates. Nothing significant in this round, except we did update our student athlete extreme heat safety. There were new guidelines that came out of VHSL, and so we've implemented those in, and also gives us specifics of like practices, scrimmages, and games. So all that chart has been updated. We then added a policy JOD and JODF to just strengthen our communication around the release of student data and records. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Will the new policies be uploaded so we can review them?
These policies are should be in your packet.
No.
Not?
No.
Okay. I'll get them up.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not until I see the policy.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Division Crisis Response, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, members of the school board and the public. Today we started our new teacher orientation. 38 brand new teachers arrived and spent the day here at Page County High School, along with just about 500 other full-time employees that began another school year. It was important that we presented this to you tonight as a two-pronged presentation. Tonight, I'd like to just update the school board on what preparations have gone into place over the course of the summer in anticipation of staff coming back and students coming back. So a lot of behind-the-scenes work. It will culminate at the next school board meeting where I will present to you the actual crisis plan which is really a summary of the things I want to show you tonight. So just to kind of help you to understand, and we do this every August at both meetings. We do so that we can certify back to the Virginia Department of Education that the work has gone on, that the preparedness has been underway, and that we're doing all we can to make sure our schools are safe places. And so slide number 2, I put a couple of graphics there. We are in the process of training our staff with ALICE training, and that is a formal active shooter response program that we've been using for a number of years. The local sheriff's office trains our staff. I'm involved in training staff, and we train substitutes as well. We want to make sure that, heaven forbid, we ever have an active shooter alert, that our staff would know how to respond. LifeSpot, you've probably heard of, is our app that all staff have on their phones, and that allows instantaneous notification to law enforcement should there be unusual behavior. If we even suspect that we might be dealing with a shooter or anything such as that, any staff member can activate this app, and it goes automatically to I think just about every law enforcement officer within the county. And the far graphic there, the school crisis emergency management and medical emergency response plan, is a document that we hold under lock and key, has live links to processes, procedures, contacts, phone numbers. It has lists of every school by school, who's responsible for what during an emergency. And so I'll be asking you, I'll revisit that in 2 weeks. But this is what is the backbone of our crisis response plan. Next slide, please. We really do pay attention to detail. Our principals have been heavily involved in this planning all summer long. Principals, along with law enforcement, did specific walkthroughs of their campuses. The VDOE gives us a checklist that we complete. The Virginia Department of Ed asks that we complete these checklists every 3 years. We do them yearly. We just don't feel as though 3 years is enough. We want to do these each year. So principals and law enforcement have gone through these checklists this summer. They submit them to me, and then they become part of our crisis plan. We review them. We make improvements that we can, but they are part of the summer response for crisis planning. And then the school safety surveys, I think I've mentioned to those in the past. The Virginia Department of Ed surveys our schools, they survey our students, and they survey our staff. That survey is confidential, it's completed, and it goes straight to the Department of Ed. So principals don't see it, I don't see it, the superintendent doesn't see it until the data is submitted and compiled, at which point we then get summaries from the Virginia Department of Ed. Again, it allows us to plan in the summer. It allows us to respond to concerns, to training needs, that kind of thing. And then just a snapshot of our division-wide safety drills. We map out the entire year. We map out fire drills, tornado drills, earthquake drills, lockdown for active shooters. We do a number of lockdowns throughout the year. We do bus evacuation drills and so on. So we have that all mapped out so that we know exactly what drills are going to occur at what school and when. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a question
Yes, sir,
before you
please
move
do.
on? Years past, the state superintendent memos come out and they tell you when tornado drill and earthquake dates
Correct.
are.
Yes, sir.
Why is Shenandoah different from the other two schools?
I don't know the exact answer to that tonight, but I do know that you are afforded a bit of grace.
Yeah, you got a window.
Yes, sir. So that may be that's in direct correlation against some other event that couldn't be moved.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. The safety surveys that I mentioned, as I said, the principals submit those, and then we get the summaries back. This is just a graphic that kind of shows you a little bit, and I realize that's hard to read. But on that are things such as, are you prepared for weather events? This afternoon's a good example. When a code red alert goes out, if we have students in the building, what do? If we have a code red event and it's at 3 o'clock and buses are in the parking lot, how do principals handle it? And so You can see those percentages are very, very high. Those are our admin telling the state that they are prepared and have been trained and have discussed specifics, weather, safety, health emergencies, drug-related emergencies, student threat emergencies, lockdown responses, the list goes on. But that is valuable for us to get back and not just assume that the principal has been told or understands this. We're able to see that they've reported, yes, they have, or to some degree they have, or not at all, that kind of thing.
So Dr. Johnson, just for clarity's sake then, those 9 responses are the 9 principals from
Yes,
the
sir.
9 schools. It's not that we only had 9 responses to a survey.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, each principal fills this out. They do so with their assistant principals on the safety surveys. So that part is reflective of every school.
Is there somewhere we can see the rest of the results? Obviously, they're trending down, right? We got the results where it's
Yes,
positive.
yes,
100%.
ma'am. I showed that as an example tonight.
Okay.
But we could certainly let you see those.
Yeah, I'd love to see where our principals say we have room to support them.
Right, absolutely. The crisis manual, as I mentioned, is kind of the hold-all of all of this. It's a live document, and it's full of live links. And I'll give you an example. We asked the principals to tell us exactly who their school-specific crisis teams are and what duties each person would do in case of an emergency. That sheet is pulled out in a live Google link. It's linked to the crisis manual, and it also, each role has a sub. So one, if we're in the middle of an emergency, we at central office can know who's doing what specifically, who's helping a handicapped student who may be on an upper level floor and be on crutches that day, who's handling media or connectivity to the superintendent, all kinds of responsibilities. The beauty of it being a live link document is should a staff member go out on long-term leave, should a staff member leave us, the principal updates it. And we know that what we're looking at is up to date. So that's very helpful. We also, central office, we have a support team. And again, there's articulation of responsibilities. Should we have a crisis, who heads to the school? I mean, obviously, if it's a law enforcement type crisis, nobody's going to the school until we're given clearance. But let's say it's a flooding or power outage or something of that nature. Who's going to the school? Who's helping food service take water and food products to the cafeteria? It's all mapped out. And so we wanted to make sure that you all understood that. We do a lot in facility preparedness as well. Everything from communication protocols, our verbiage. What does it mean to have a high-level threat? What does it mean to have a low-level threat when a principal announces that? We have a parent version of this that we publish after you all approve it in August as well, so that parents understand that verbiage. Principals have what's called CRG maps. Those are floor maps of every school, and they're graphed like a military quadrant, A through D on the top and 1 through 5 on the bottom, for instance. So if the police respond and they don't know the building, but they see a map and say, go to C4, and they go right to the correct spot. AED maps on those CRG maps, law enforcement, faculty, staff, central office know where every AED is in each building. We have a link in the safety plan that tells us expiration of AED batteries, type of AED. It's down to that level of specificity to make sure we don't have a battery that gets outdated and we have an emergency and it's not functional. And as I mentioned, school safety drills as well.
Dr. Johnson, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question. You said links, so is this completely online or is there a hard copy in the building?
So both. So principals, assistant principals, and central office staff all have this at their discretion and can get to it in a flash. But you're right, if it's a Google Doc, so it can be downloaded, it can be accessed on their phones if they're on the move, it can be accessed on their laptops, so we can access it. We just keep it under lock and key because there's so much confidential information in there.
Well, my question is, if there's only online and if the internet goes down, there's no cell tower, everything's online, how are you getting there? Or if the
Yeah.
power goes out, how are you getting?
Yeah, we asked them to download it as well. As I said, both, it's
Okay.
hard copy and electronic copy.
Okay.
Yep, yep. this chart just shows, again, and I'm going through this amount of detail so that when I come back to you in 2 weeks, you're familiar with what's in that crisis manual and I ask you to approve it. We have phenomenal law enforcement partnerships. We meet with law enforcement monthly for the most part. We maintain records of all of those meetings. That goes into the crisis manual for historical analysis, make sure we don't forget things. County planning meetings, building accessibility, all of those things are enhanced with our partnerships with local law enforcement. I mentioned there's a student-parent handbook. There's also a parent crisis manual that we put on the website. Parents can see, parents can download. And then information systems, Aptigee is our division-wide program that allows us to instantly launch messages. So if we have a crisis and we need to shut down a building quickly, we can get specifically to those parents. Or if we need to do it division-wide, we can get specifically to those parents. You might remember last year we had a crisis, and it began at Lorraine Middle at about 7:30 in the morning. And I was in the parking lot with law enforcement. There had been a break-in overnight that was discovered. Kids weren't there yet. And we had to make a very quick decision. Buses were on the road. Are we going to lock this building down, or are we going to turn buses around? The Thrill Share and the Aptigee program that we have allowed us to notify parents. It's very unfortunate and very inconvenient, but it was the decision to make out of safety, and we could let drivers and parents know immediately that we needed to do that. So that's an example of that. Yeah, next slide, please. The crisis manual, this is a bit of what principals see. Parents can see this, but the links are dead, so they couldn't get into the documents purposefully. But you can see it has everything from the safety surveys, the safety checklists, the training that we do with LifeSpot, the training that we do with Alice. There are links to videos, links to training documents, links to the maps by floor. Other part of this manual has all of the procedures, the strategies for training, the articulations of responsibilities, and so on. So it's incredibly detailed. We've built it over the years. I still have on my desk, I used to bring it to school board meetings. I have a binder that's about probably 8 to 10 inches thick. That was the old way of doing things before Google and live documents and internet. The problem with such binder was it would sit on shelves and it would get outdated. This does not get outdated, and it's really powerful. This is just a quick look at the LifeSpot app that I mentioned. We are training, that begins on Wednesday at the school level, and all faculty and staff will go through this training. They download the app. You may have heard of Alyssa's Law. That's been a big legal action in Virginia, across the country, but in Virginia as well this year, that is encouraging divisions to provide this. We've had this for a number of years now, so we were ahead of the game with this. But this is phenomenal. If a faculty or staff activates this, it will show the police geographically what part of the building. You can look at even these couple screenshots. If I was at Lorraine Middle and I hit a 3, the police would see this and they would see where am I at, and they would know I'm on the 3rd floor. It's absolutely unbelievable. This app has a chat function. So if I'm locked down in a classroom and there's somebody out in the hallway shooting off bullets, I can chat with the police. I can't chat with the superintendent. I can't chat with the teacher next door. This is a direct link to law enforcement during a crisis. This program is incredible for our faculty and staff. So what you'll be seeing in 2 weeks is just the implementation of this plan, the framework for what we do, how we identify emergencies, how we articulate responsibilities, the specific school plans, the specific staff roles, the summaries of the different documents that I've talked about, and how we communicate in an emergency. So we knew this was a big night and a full night, but we also know that we can't show this to you any sooner than now, because some of these documents at the state level weren't due until the end of July. So we kind of get punched a bit here between end of July and start of school, but we wanted you to have a good understanding of this, and we're going to ask for your approval in 2 weeks. This is already in the hands of administrators in regards to communication and scheduling of drills and so on. So I hope that kind of helps summarize. And like I said, what's next will just be our August 24th as an action item. I appreciate the questions as we went along. It's helpful, and I hope it gave you a good sort of visual of what we've done throughout the course of the summer.
Any other questions?
Looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, superintendent update. Give it a shot. This, yeah. Just in case Dr. Johnson's got a picture for you.
All right. Good evening.
Let me do it. So it's convenient that the first slide says row the boat. That is our theme. It was last year, it is this year. And as Dr. Huber's voice has failed him, my oar is in the water, Dr. Huber, and we're going to keep rowing the boat. That's exactly what that means. We've said to staff that we are in this together, division-wide, nearly 600 staff members between full-timers, coaches, part-timers, and so on. So I will finish Dr. Huber's superintendent's presentation on his behalf tonight. Slide 1 here, you can see we just finished we just began new teacher orientation. Day 1 was today, day 2 is tomorrow. We had 38 new teachers, and it was a wonderful day today. Technology department, spent a lot of time with them, getting them into accounts, training them on matters that are going to be necessary to lead students. Special education department is involved. HR does a lot on professionalism. Mentorship program was explained today. Getting to know your school, you can read those. There's a lot involved in new teacher orientation. We pack a lot in the 2 days. We try not to overwhelm them, but we also try to equip them. So it's a really good time. Convocation is right around the corner. That's going to be Wednesday, 1 o'clock, right here in this auditorium. That's for all staff and school board and other officials in the community, and we love convocation. It is exciting to see our staff pack this auditorium. Students are involved, cheer teams are involved, band is involved, and it's basically a 2-hour pep rally for staff. We have a wonderful keynote speaker this year that Dr. Huber was able to convince to come join us. Many of you will remember Kennedy Strickler, class of 2020, Page County High School, national officer, I believe, in the FCCLA. Kennedy's the featured speaker. We'll be recognizing Teacher of the Year, Support Staff of the Year, Drivers of the Year, Row the Boat Award winners. We're excited. Again, Dr. Huber's initiative that began last year continues this year with The Next Mile, and each school is going to have a Row the Boat winner that will be recognized, including the department's central office as well. And we're going to be able to say thank you to the person that stepped in and rowed the boat. Many did. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it was many, many, many Row the Boat award winners. But we're going to say thank you to a standout from each school. We're excited about that. You will have a chance to hear division goals, school highlights. I already mentioned the band and the color guard and the guests. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Back to school orientations will begin next week. You can see there, August 19th, we'll have VPI, middle school, high school, the technical center. Those are all on the school calendar and can be examined by parents. August 20th, the elementary, back to school orientations. And we would just encourage families, pay attention to the app. If you don't have the app, this is a good plug. Go online using your smartphone, your Android, and just look in your apps, your Play Store, look for Page County Public Schools. If you download that app, you're going to get all kinds of notifications about when the orientations are, when the school board meetings are, all the things we're involved in right now. So do that. If you're unable to do that and you're still uncertain and you can't find it on the web, please call the schools. Reach out to the local principal and they'll be able to help you. But we're excited to have students and families back on our campuses. As school is right around the corner, this is for the community. We just want to encourage people to be safe. Slow down, give our school buses plenty of distance. Please guard your patience when you get behind a student driver. You may not realize it's a student driver. And I've been there. You get frustrated when you're behind the wheel, but this time of year, just take a moment and consider that it could be. Remember, traffic patterns could change. So just be alert. Make sure schools are aware of your updated contact information. If your child has moved or you've moved or something's changed, again, I just presented the safety piece, and we need to be able to get in contact with you when we need to be able to get in contact with you. You may have seen in prior presentations Bus Right. We are so excited about this with our transportation staff. This is an app that all parents can access, and you're going to have live updates as to where your school bus is. So gone are the days of thinking it's 15 minutes late. Did I miss it? What's going on? If you have the app downloaded, you can look. And if it's delayed, you'll be able to see it's delayed. If it's on time, you'll be able to see it's 3 minutes away, it's 2 minutes away. This is a powerful tool for our community. It's a powerful tool for our principals and central office to track students. Are they on the bus? Did they not get on the bus? Did the bus not stop? Those kinds of things. So really, really excited about that. Important dates, please take a moment to look at those. We've just discussed many of them. Our next board meeting is August the 24th. First day of school, August the 27th. If Dr. Huber had a voice, he'd be cheering right now, I can tell you. There's a lot of enthusiasm. Please remember there's some other things in September about closures, meetings, and so on that the community can see. And with that, we would like to say thank you on behalf of Dr. Huber.
Are there any questions? And I guess you'd have to maybe answer them. I don't know. Okay. All right. This time we're going to have citizen comment. I think we have 2 citizens signed up. Is that correct? 5. Okay. So who's the first one? Randy Wilson. And I'm going to read, once he gets up here, I'm going to read kind of the process for this school board comments. Mr. Wilson, you will have 3 minutes, but I need to read this first, okay? The Page County School Board welcomes citizen comment during regular meetings. School board members do not respond to public comment during a meeting. All comments should address a matter related to Page County Public Schools. The school board will not hear public comment that involves an individual student-related matter, the disclosure of which would violate applicable confidentiality requirements. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully agree or disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, nor to the superintendent, a staff member, or the audience. Speakers will have 3 minutes to present their comments from the podium. And I guess what's going to, she's got a timer and you hear a little beep or something, that means.
Okay, first of all, my name is Randy Wilson. I'd like to make it known that I have no students in Page County Public Schools. I'm just here as a concerned citizen. I'm 67 years old, and I went through this process back in 2006, 7, 8, and 9 when the new high schools were built. It was a tedious process that was many meetings, a lot of diligent input into it. I finally got on board with it. It was addressed to us at our final meeting that the decision to build these schools would eliminate any further need 25 years down the line for any kind of change. If that shows us anything, that shows us long-range predictions are just that, a predictions and a guess. Okay? We have to understand, we live in the proximity of 100 miles from the nation's capital, one of the largest concentrated populations in the state of Virginia. You can outreach to as far as Gainesville now, where old Atlas Steel used to sit, and see the huge population increase. So my point being, with that increase, their taxes, we have friends that live there. their home values are outrageous. That tells me that that area is quickly outgrowing itself. I know our short-range projections show exactly what Dr. Hubert is right on saying, 100%. The statistics don't lie about that. But my point being, the Northern Virginia area has a huge impact on us as a Shenandoah Valley. And anyone that has rode around on a Saturday or Sunday evening in leisure with their spouses has seen the input of Airbnbs into our community. Now, if I'm living with my wife and kids in Manassas, Warrington, Gainesville, or District of Columbia, and I come here and stay in an Airbnb, and I talk to people in the community, and I understand the lifestyle here and the schools that we have, that's going to be a huge factor in me saying, hey, honey, it's time to move, okay? The other thing being, if you own a home in Northern Virginia like most of us live in Page County, it's worth close to $600,000, $700,000. You could sell that home there and move here, buy 25 acres and a decent home and live here comfortably. So the studies you're showing shows a decrease in students, but is also the slight chance that if we make this move, 8 to 10 years down the road or even less, we may be asking our taxpayers to fund 2 more schools or open new schools, which is going to be a huge tax burden on the community again. And I'm not really sure that the farmers in this area, and this is a farming community, could withstand the pressure of higher taxes and not have to fold up. That's my concern as a taxpayer and a citizen of Page County. I have all the applause for the faculties and the teachers and the administrations of Page County. My wife has taught here for years and been with the systems. I have numerous friends that's here. I have all the applause for them. We can't let this decision be a sentimental decision. And I know
Mr. Wilson,
a lot in the
time's
community,
up.
including myself when this first started, sentimental ties to Springfield, sentimental ties to Shenandoah. This can't be sentiment. This has to be fact. It has to be online. And you guys as a board have a tough decision because, like I'm saying, if we make the decision to do this, it's a guess.
Mr. Wilson, your time's up. Your time's up.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I didn't know you could hear.
The only other thing I have to say is I understand you're doing a task force. I would love to be on that task force as a concerned citizen. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So who's next?
Stella Smith.
Stella. Ms. Smith.
Good evening. Thank you for the job you're doing. I know it's a hard job, but I feel like Springfield and Shenandoah are being sacrificed, and the children in those areas, because that's going to impact so many things. It's going to impact the class sizes when they're moved and a long distance, and I know there's a lot of other things that go along with that, but I think that is one of the main things. The other thing is, will there be a community committee that will be in with this decision? I would like to, I don't know the answer to that. I didn't see it on anything up there or anything. The other thing is, I'm wondering, is there a possibility that Page County being a rural area or something, aren't there businesses or technology companies or something that would be willing to donate? Probably. Maybe, I don't know. But that's just a thought. And you know what? My mom always said, if you don't take care of old, you won't take care of new. So I think we should take care of what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. America Shiplet.
Good evening. My name is America Shiflett, and I'm a student in Page County Public Schools. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here because I care about us students, families, and communities that make up our school district. I'm especially concerned about the younger students who attend Shenandoah Elementary and how this decision could affect their future. I respectfully ask you to carefully reconsider the proposal to close Shenandoah Elementary. This decision would have a significant impact on students and their families. Many children who attend Shenandoah Elementary already have long bus rides. If school closes, students from communities like Naked Creek and other countryside areas will have to leave home even earlier each morning. These are young children who deserve to spend their mornings getting ready to learn, not spending hours on a school bus. I also ask you to consider the safety concerns U.S. Route 340 is, a heavily traveled highway that has seen far too many serious and fatal accidents over the years. Increasing the number of school buses and amount of young children spent traveling on this road raises legitimate concerns for families and our community. Every extra mile on a busy highway means more time as students spend exposed to potential danger. As a student, I know how important it is to feel safe, supported, and connected at school. Shenandoah Elementary gives children a place where they can build relationships, grow, and succeed. That sense of community cannot simply be replaced. I respectfully ask the school board to consider not only the financial impact of this decision, but also the educational, emotional, and safety impacts it will have on the children in our district. Please explore every possible option before making a final decision to close Shenandoah Elementary. Students deserve to learn in schools where they feel safe, supported, and connected to their communities. Thank you for your time, your service, and for listening to my concerns.
Thank you. Pam Boyd.
As does the discussion regarding the future of our elementary schools continue, I have been trying to stay informed by reviewing the information that has been made available. However, I still have several questions that I have not been able to find answers to, and I hope you can provide some clarification. First, could the board provide the current student population for each elementary school, as well as the projected enrollment figures being used in the facilities proposal? I've heard from Page County Public School staff that there may be discrepancies between the numbers included in the proposal and the actual enrollment figures. Second, if consolidation occurs, is there a target or maximum student-to-teacher ratio that the division intends to maintain at the elementary level? Will there be a cap on class sizes, or is there a staffing model that outlines how many students would be assigned to each classroom? Finally, I've been trying to better understand the long-term financial plan surrounding these proposals. My understanding is that there are still approximately 10 years remaining on the debt associated with the construction of the two high schools. Has the board discussed how that existing obligation factors into future building construction or remodel? Specifically, is there an intent to begin setting aside funds now in preparation for a future building, or is the expectation that construction would not be considered until the current debt is substantially reduced or paid off? I'm aware the Board of Supervisors controls some of the money, but the public deserves transparency, as well as doing so will result in higher taxes. A real concern many have is consolidation occurring and then the plan of building bigger schools not coming to fruition in the near future due to financial restraint. This would result in not only current overpopulation, but years in the future as well. During the recent presentation, I understood the estimated annual savings from closing Springfield to be approximately $1 million. If that figure is correct, I'm struggling to understand how those savings alone would position the county to finance any of these proposals, which would require a significantly larger annual debt payment. Again, has the board developed a long-term funding strategy, and has a strategy been shared with the public? I ask these questions because I believe understanding the long-term financial plan is just as important as understanding the facilities proposal themselves. Having that information would help the public evaluate not only the immediate impacts of consolidation, but also whether these decisions move the county closer to a financially realistic path for future school construction. From a financially conscientious standpoint, it makes little sense to combine elementary schools into overcrowded facilities when we have other buildings, particularly the high schools, operating at roughly 50% capacity. Before spending more than $2 million on new construction, we should fully evaluate how to make better use of the facilities that taxpayers have already paid for. Where does it make the most sense to consolidate? If there is available capacity in our high schools, middle school students could be accommodated there through thoughtful planning and facility modification. This approach would allow us to maximize existing resources rather than constructing new buildings at enormous taxpayer expense. The goal to any decision should be the least disruptive to students and staff now and in the next few years, while being financially responsible. As we consider alternatives, we must never lose sight of what matters most, providing a high-quality education for our children. Educational quality should remain at the center of this conversation. I appreciate the time and effort that has gone into this process. My goal is to simply stay informed so I can participate in these discussions as a parent and citizen of Page County.
Thank you.
Brian Ortega.
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendent. Thank you all for your time. My name is Brian Ortega, and I'm a proud parent of Stanley Elementary and Page County High School. I want to start by acknowledging that the financial challenges and enrollment crisis facing Page County Public Schools are serious, and I recognize that the decisions before this board are not easy. My comments tonight are not about placing blame. They're about making sure that before we make a decision with such significant consequences, we have fully considered the impact and explored every possible solution. Tonight, I want to bring up a few areas of consideration as we continue this conversation. For many families, their school is a second home. It's where children feel safe, relationships are built, and where communities come together. When school closures happen, there's a ripple effect that extends far beyond the classroom that leaves lasting scars on students, families, and employees. The decision to close schools will result in distrust and disdain for years to come. Second, there's the concern of transportation. Consolidating schools may create savings on paper, but we need to look at the additional costs for longer bus routes, fuel, maintenance, drivers, and transportation staffing. Additionally, for families, longer distances will create real challenges with childcare, work schedules, extracurricular activities, and getting their children safely to and from school. Third, we cannot overlook the school personnel. School closures will significantly impact teachers, support staff, custodians, cafeteria workers, and others who dedicate their lives to our students. These are not simply positions on a spreadsheet. These are members of our community. Several questions need to be asked here. Before we close schools and eliminate more jobs, have you all truly looked at all the costs? Have you reviewed all programs, contracts, and other areas of spending? Have you taken a transparent look at central office spending and administrative costs? Has research been done on future enrollment trends beyond the upcoming school year? Has an analysis on employee benefits taken place? Have you looked at and applied to grants? Has the district taken steps to encourage homeschooled families to enroll their children to our schools? And have you engaged our state elected officials and raised the concerns related to the LCI and additional trends that were mentioned this evening? If these questions are not answered, the current enrollment trend crisis we are seeing will be exacerbated, and as a result of the school closure, we'll be having the same conversation again 10, 15, 20 years from now. I want to reiterate the importance of staff and family voice. I'm glad to hear that the conversations have started and that you all will continue them, and I hope that you genuinely take them into consideration. I'm not asking this board to ignore the district's financial reality. I'm asking that you approach this collaboratively and recognize that the choice is not simply close the schools and consolidate. There are steps I feel that have not been taken. Before you make a decision that will permanently change the communities that you serve, I ask that you take the time to look at every possible alternative, make sure that the voices of the people who live in our communities and the decisions are truly a part of this decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody? Okay, thank you. So now we'll go to our approvals and our action items, and then we'll have our board comments close the meeting.
Good evening again, board members. Dr. Huber, I bring before you purchase orders over $10,000 this evening for your approval. The first one being Contact Paper Group. This is for our copy paper for the division. The next one is RICO. This is our contract for all of our copiers in the division. The third one is Convergent Technology. This is for fire services support program, including testing and inspection of our fire panels. We have a Riddleberger Brothers purchase order. This is for a block hour agreement, preventative maintenance on our HVAC systems. The block hour contract helps us with labor costs. It locks in those labor costs. It also provides 2-hour emergency response, preferred scheduling, and lower rates when we do have a need for emergency services. And then lastly, technology. We have a PO for $21,150 for technology for additional Promethean panels, a mobile stand, and an updated operating system for those existing panels. Any questions regarding purchase orders?
How many of these purchase orders have been set out for competitive bids?
So all of them follow the procurement policy. Some of these, for example, the fire services support program, that one is a Fairfax County Schools rider. So on some of these, we can jump onto a rider from other school divisions. But we follow the procurement policy for all of our purchase orders. So it could be a rider, it could be just going out to get different quotes according to the policy.
We own a rider for the RICO copiers too?
Timmy said yes. Yes, we are.
And who is that with?
We'll review that and see. Mr. Williams believes it's Sourcewell. We're on a second year of a 3-year agreement for that one. We can check and see if it's Sourcewell.
And on the paper, did that go out to bid, or is that a rider as
We
well?
get quotes for those.
You got quotes for
Yes.
And you did the same with the block hour agreement through Riddleberger.
Let's see. Is that on a rider as well? That is a rider as well.
Through who? You know off the top of your head?
You want to come to the podium? Yeah.
I think that might be through, I've been looking at so many of them, I forget, but it is a rider, either Clark County, through Clark County.
Yeah.
And on the bottom one, how many new boards is that?
5.
And how much per board?
Let's see if I have that information here. Excuse me a second while I look. I might not have the detail. I don't have the detail with me, I'm sorry, on this. Not sure if Mr. Samples might remember.
Can hear you. Yeah.
Do you remember the cost of each panel?
We can hear you.
Hmm?
And there is a fan that's needed to be purchased with each one, about 500. And then there are 5 other using grade our existing panels. So the 5 are going to be used to grade library and secondary. Right now we're out of inventory, so we need inventory of panels with all of our existing ones now out of warranty. And we're going to upgrade elementary libraries to make them up to date a little bit, kind of test how that new operating system works with our existing standards. And those modules without being configured as code.
All right. Any other questions? If not, we need a motion to approve these so we can move forward with our school year.
Do we have access to the contracts that, like, the contracts that we're
Writing
agreeing to and writing on if we don't have one ourselves? Do we have access to, does the board, or do we work with you to understand the structure of those contracts?
Do you have access to these contracts? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking? We haven't given you access to those contracts, but we certainly can. We have them, of course.
Yeah,
And they're submitted anytime a purchase order is submitted, then I get that contract.
I think it would be helpful. I know the gentleman beside me spoke
Sure.
of the equipment lease, and, you know, that one stands out to me as well. Is it something that we should look at, obviously, doing bids and
Yes.
going and getting that route? Or do we consider buying these things and only having a one-time payment versus, you were saying we're spending 90K for 3 years in this contract, so personally, by then, could we have bought one? I know that then brings in maintenance questions too, right? I understand it's a bigger picture, but I'd like to see what we could do to get more involved.
I can answer some of those questions, having dealt with Rico before under a contract basis. That contract, you can't purchase what you need in a system this size for that price and for the maintenance that they maintain. Some contracts, I don't know what the rider says, but it gives you so much toner that can be written in. There's so many staples that are included. It gives, and then it also goes to the finisher that's on each one, and if it's color. So there's so many different aspects to that, and knowing how many's in each school. Do you know how many's in at least this school here? It's probably at least 4 or 5, and then you have.
Mr. Williams
said
believes
7.
maybe 7.
Yeah, so to purchase all those just for this building alone almost would not come close to that amount to
Over the
purchase.
3-year span.
And then you've got your own maintenance that you got to pay to maintain, and then what do you do with them after 5 years when they're out of life? So they'll come in and rotate your, correct me if I'm wrong,
You're
they'll rotate
correct.
your inventory to newer models, so you're always getting the latest and greatest within it. Depends on the contract, it's either 3 or 5 years, because they do have a lifespan of how many copies they can make.
Okay. See, these are the details, obviously, that are helpful. Still seems like an astronomical number, but I guess that's just what we, myself and our community can, I guess, have to get used to seeing.
It's a large number.
It is a large number.
Yeah, it's shocking, but
Yeah.
for what you get for that, and the
Maybe
number
there's
of
a different
copies.
way to look at it. We're saying there's 7 in the high school alone. Do we need 7 in the high school alone? I don't know, right? That would be a whole, again, there's so much to this discussion that I don't want to take time here to do.
There's a lot to this discussion,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that we do our due diligence, and I ask many, many questions. So when we do get a contract like this, we are thinking through, do we need this? Is this important, or can we cut this? These are questions that we do ask. So we are doing everything that we know to do, that when we bring something to you for approval, we've done our research. We've done everything that we can do to make sure that we are using resources to the best of our ability.
I appreciate that, you and the team, because I know the team behind you has been speaking to some of this as well. Personally, and I think I can even speak for some of the community members, our budget's been in a bad spot the last few years. So we're looking at each and everything, and we just want to be sure. So I appreciate your due diligence and the teams behind it. The questions will keep coming.
Yes, we are looking at everything too, on our end, and so we do drive everyone
As
a little
we
bit
are held
crazy.
accountable, we're holding you accountable.
You can count on it.
Well, Ms. Miller, I think you've done a great job breaking things down item by item. That's been very helpful for everyone, and I know that you've been doing a lot of that on your own time. And I mean, a deep, deep dive, and it is greatly appreciated. It doesn't go unnoticed, and we appreciate that attention to the detail, even the small things that I know that you have picked up on. And thank you for that. So I would like to make a motion that we would approve purchase orders over 10,000.
I second.
All right, we got a motion and a second.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Mr. Bodwick, it's a vote. He's on. Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Breeden?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Ms. Miller, claims for payment.
All right, thank you again. You have been presented with claim certification for August 10th, 2026, where total operating fund expenditures are $1,383,607.19. Fund 5 food service, $43,551.86, for a total of $1,427,159.05. With this, you have been provided with a list of claims and check registers. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Yes. A big one that I have that I keep hitting on since January is the oil.
Yes, sir.
We right now have a 32,000 one and $8,256. That's oil. For that amount of money, how many months is that for? Is that just for July? And what is all that oil heating? Because we're in air conditioning mode now.
Well, the fuel is for the high schools. The elementaries do not have the fuel on or the heat on right now, but the high schools with the systems, they need the heat also that runs during the summer to heat the hot water and dehumidify the building.
The dehumidify, yes, I get that on that, and the hot water.
Yeah.
But it's costing us $32,000. Have those went out to bid for next year?
We have started that process with our county procurement specialist. So yes, we're in the process.
Okay. Because
And Timmy's been working on that and narrowing that down, and both high schools are even now, or closer than they were. So he's been tracking that.
Yeah, but as she'll show us in another slide, there's still over $30,000 for those school expenses when the other ones are down to $5,000 and $6,000. So I don't understand, and I'll quote this from one of the community members, I don't understand why our newest building is still costing us the most and the time that it's being used the least, and we're looking at building new buildings. So we need to have those answers for the community, because if they're looking at these buildings that are less than 10 years old or 12 years old, however old they are, it's the newest, most efficient buildings that we have. If they're costing us $60,000 a month to run, what is a new building still going to cost us? And how does that impact on having the new building versus what we have now? Just questions I'm getting. It also has questions that I have in it. So when we get shown that $30,000 for the two high schools and we see the difference on the others, my biggest question is why? And I get that from the community, and I can't answer that question. And I've been asking that question since January, and I know what I've been told. Yes, I understand about the heat, but now we're not in heat, and I understand about dehumidifying the building. I had the problems with that myself in my own business on Sunday when something shut off because of it. So I get that. But for God's sake, for $32,000? I mean, has the system been updated to better efficiency, or are we still on hold for that yet? We're still on hold.
Yes, sir.
Do we know when that might be implemented?
It's a CIP request.
And are we waiting on funds from the Board of Supervisors?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, currently, we do not have a CIP.
And do we know how much that is?
38,000.
You said 38,000?
38,000.
Well, shoot, that's one of the oil bills. I just don't know how we can't scrape that to cost save on the other piece here. I don't know, maybe I'm having a brain freeze, but I just don't understand the $38,000, and we're, since January, still spending $60,000 a month in utility bills at the new high schools. Doesn't make sense. That's all on that one.
One thing I don't know the answers to, I understand your questions, but I can say this, nothing is out of the ordinary from what we've looked back. So it's not like this is a newer expense. It's something that we haven't had. Now, when RRMHIM was here last, I did speak to them about or they heard your questions, and they had indicated that they were going to help us out with some comparisons with some similarly sized
Right.
schools, and I think we need that, because we
Right.
don't have a frame of reference
But
right now.
also, how far did you go back? Because I've been told this problem has existed for about 5 to 6 years, that the software that makes these schools more efficient is outdated, and no one has been trained on it to run them efficiently.
And we are in the process of
So how far back did you look to compare the cost? Well, if you only look back 5 years and they've been costing us this much for 5 years,
Right.
what was it when they first built in the first 5 years?
well, what was the cost of heating oil when we first built?
Yes, and I understand that's went up. So if you do the
And what is it
comparison, you
now?
have to do it in dollar equal dollar.
Right.
And I get that.
Right.
But things are always going up, and I'm just afraid in 2 more years, it's even going to be higher. And we have to look at making our most efficient schools the most efficient schools.
And I will say too, that these high schools are used in the summertime. You know, we did have summer school going on, and we have practices going on all the time. They are hopping, not like when school is in session.
Yes, you had summer school for a couple weeks.
They are.
I get that.
They are going.
And now you're having new orientation for
Right.
teachers and stuff. So I get that they used a lot. I understand that. But it's still a lot of money compared to what the other schools are
I
having.
think it would help because they have been hounding this question every meeting. And you and I talked about it, Dr. Huber. I think it would help to have a line chart or a graph comparing the last several years to see, and you got some great graphs there. Maybe Mr. Runyon can borrow that from you and map out the last 3 years, and that way you could see if there's these spikes or we're being even or how that
Yes,
really
sir.
is going on.
And we did that. So
You
we
did that,
we
okay.
have it. Yeah.
Yeah, and make
we
sure
did
it's
that.
apples to
You
apples.
have
So,
that. But we'll send it again.
$1990 is equal to $2026. So we know, okay, it's not a skew that much because back then it would have cost this much in today's dollars. So it may not be out of whack.
Well, it's at least 40% more than before COVID, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
all inflation.
Yes,
is basically
that
40%.
has affected a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, we will revisit that. When the question first came up, we did that chart.
Okay.
And sent that to the board,
If you
but
could just send it-
we will revisit it.
Did you send that to the
Yeah,
board?
yeah.
You sent it to the board?
Dr. Huber did. So
Okay.
we will revisit again and
Just resend it
make
to
sure
us.
that you get, yeah.
We must
of
have
course.
missed something.
Yeah.
I did have a question.
Sure.
Purely for understanding, Shenandoah County Public Schools, we paid them, looks like 51,000. What would that be for?
It's governor's school.
It's a governor's school. Okay.
I have another question. There's 2 in 813. I think it's 2 in 813. Just maybe the one. The big one is in 813. Updike, $58,000. Is that for a year? Is
That's
that
for the
a month?
year. That's for the year. We pay them.
And
upfront.
that's pick up trash at all schools?
Yes, we pay
So
them.
we're prepaying them picking up?
Right.
Okay. So if that's a prepayment, what is the payment on? Sorry, they're color coded, so I should be able to find it faster.
And that was the August one you were referring to, right?
Yes, 813.
Okay.
The other one is 723, same vendor, Updike, $1,289.74. So if we're prepaying for a year, then why is at the end of the year in July or the beginning of the year, another $1,000 on that one?
That's a question we'll have to come back to you for. I don't have the answer to that right now.
Okay, and moving into the other question. There are quite a few, and I'm assuming they're technology, at very high cost. One is IXL, $56,000.
Correct.
Another one is the Alexia, 57,000, which I asked if it was taking place of teachers, and I since learned that supposedly it is. And so we're paying 57,000. Is that for the whole school division? Or is that for one school? Is that just a license renewal?
For the school division, that is our reading program. We had talked about that. Do you remember when I brought that PO?
Right.
For the July 1 PO?
Yeah, and I
our
asked if
reading,
it's taking
our
the place
reading
of a teacher.
program. And we said no, that it was not taking the place of a teacher. And that is a state, high-quality instructional material, approved program.
So that is done as a resource for teachers to use. I understand that. So
And
is
remediation.
what is it, IXL, and I believe that's in
For
math. But the problem that I'm having is I get told that it is taking the place of teaching. And if that's the case, same thing for IXL, why not hire a reading specialist for the division to help teachers better teach reading in skill levels that they don't have the skill set for? Same thing for math, a math specialist for the division. You could do that at that salary rate that you're paying for a computer program that kids don't take seriously. Teachers just do it because it's mandated upon them. So,
Speaking from as a principal at Page Middle,
Right.
my teachers loved IXL, and when we tried to take it away from them, they rose up in revolt. So,
Okay.
But what we have done since then is taken a look at all programs so that we are not piecemealing programs for whatever school wants, whatever teacher wants, that we are adopting programs that we support as the division, and those are the ones we're going with. And we find IXL to be that program.
at some point,
So let's talk about efficiency.
Yeah.
Just excuse me, Ms. Breeden. I just want to get a clarification. So just for efficiency reasons, or a question on efficiency, how many reading specialists or math specialists is in that number of we didn't hire or we didn't put into the budget? That's a question I would come back. If you don't have it right off the top of your head, I get it. But if you do, you're offsetting that cost because that program can go wherever. It's one reading specialist. One reading specialist. Okay.
and the thing I would ask, and not so much from the financial standpoint, because I know your role, but from the instructional role, and I'm looking at the instructional leaders over there, Ms. Hamill, if we can maybe, working with the superintendent, because I keep getting asked this in the community as well, and I mean, when you hear from a student that they think that program is ridiculous, I don't know if it's been explained to them of what resource that it is and how beneficial it can be. So I think maybe doing an overview of it at the beginning of the school, saying these are the pros of the system, and here are some pitfalls that we have had and that we have course corrected, and this is the outcomes that we're expecting. Because from what I'm hearing, it's not that.
Lexia is a supplemental literacy Tier 2 intervention program. It's on the state-approved list. One of the ways that it's used in elementary and middle school, is because we don't have the reading specialist staff to meet under the Virginia Literacy Act, particularly in K-3. There's a 30-minute or a 2.5 hours a week interventive requirement to serve all of our students with one reading specialist per elementary school. We can't do that. So Lexi is allowed to fill that gap a little bit. Kids are still being seen every day. Now, an initiative in the division and something that our leaders heard at the Leadership Academy was focused on Lexia, and perhaps it's not being used with the intentionality that it should be. And you can ask any principal in this division. It was made loud and clear at leadership, the function of that and what it should be look like for use, to make sure that we're not using it in a way where a student is put on a computer, oh, do Lexia. That's not best practice use of it. So it is a blind spot that we recognized this past year and have addressed in terms of the Lexia piece. One of our middle schools, we don't have a reading specialist. We have someone who is supporting that as sort of an extra duty. So Lexia will be used more intervention at one middle school. The other middle school, we do have a reading specialist. So it's valid points and valid concerns. We recognize them and have addressed them to hopefully eliminate it being abused or not used in an intentional way.
And I get that it's on the state approved list. I'm a firm believer that instruction should always come from a teacher first, and anything else that may enhance that teaching is a resource, and then it's used accordingly. I understand that the middle school may not have a reading specialist. I hope that that's not one that we're putting off hiring, because I think the students deserve having the teacher teach the core reading and use that as a supplement, as a resource, not as a teaching entity. I'm just concerned about that. I know when I went through the school system here at the old Page County High School, which is middle school, that was one of my deficits, was in reading. I had great teachers that helped me, Susan Painter being one of them, and still in contact with her today. I love her. So teachers make the difference, not a computer software program.
And
So-
oops, sorry.
So I hope that we take a harder look at that, because that price could hire one teacher. And I know it leaves the rest of the schools out if you do that, because that's serving multiple schools. I get that. And I know it's a delicate balance, but somehow we need to find a better fix for that. And I see in some of the SWL scores that we're going to maybe get later that some reading has went up. So I'm encouraged by that. So I just want a harder look in presenting to the board, and so the community knows where those programs are beneficial and how they should be used and how they are used in conjunction with the teacher. I think would be beneficial.
Agreed. And your sentiment is exactly the message that our leadership heard at Leadership Academy at the end of July. We are a people, not programs, right? There's no replacement for high quality instruction from an adult. So we agree and are digging in on it for sure.
While you're still at the podium, thank you for coming up. I appreciate that because I've heard mixed feedback from teachers, actually. One of the teachers did mention that it's the way that she was using it in her class, that she felt like it wasn't taking away from her opportunity to still interact with the students and teach them as a teacher should be able to. So I appreciate it. Sounds like you're already digging in with the separate schools, separate teachers, and how it's being used. Which I think is the case for any of these tools we've brought into our system.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like those comments, but I like to also add, we should know or figure out, if you took those programs away, how many specialists would you need? And I think that's important for our board and the citizens to understand as well. If you're going to have to hire 5 people for 2 programs, it doesn't make any sense. Now, implement it the proper way, that's right in your bailiwick that you'll take care of, I'm sure. But yeah, I think it's important to kind of, we're talking about budget. If we're going to talk about adding 5 people, that's a lot of money.
Well, that's salary, benefits, and everything. So that's a lot.
And
It's more than-
access, right?
Right, and it's more than the software program. So I think it's just a disconnect of where everybody is seeing that program and how it's being used. And it probably is being used effectively and correctly in a lot of classrooms, and in some it's not. So I think being aware of it and being able to fix that, I think would be great. And I understand that you're on it. So I appreciate that.
This discussion actually leads into another community item of too much time on computers, too much time on those devices. So I think once we all understand the time on Lexia is important, the time in IXL is important, here's the benefit to helping those students, because otherwise the vice versa is hiring 5 specialists and then 5 more for math. Like, getting that fuller picture, not just for us as a board, but for our community is going to be really big. And there's a lot inside of that screen time topic to unpack, but it's a component of this one.
And I can tell you again, at leadership, Ms. Vaca presented about intentionality, right? Not screens for screen's sake.
Yeah.
Does it enhance instruction? Does it further engage students to meet the objectives behind the lesson?
intentionality is something in our instructional framework that was said over and over. We're pounding that drum pretty hard to make sure that we're not replacing high-quality instruction with tips, tricks, and programs. So, and screen time's getting a lot of attention right now globally, and it's not off our radar in any way. It's an ongoing discussion.
I had something else for Miss Miller, just one more. We obviously hammer you guys with questions, right? We'll pick on Mr. Breeden for that. I was looking at the files that you give us. There's a column for vendor identification and a column for vendor name.
Oh, I know where you're going.
They are so similar. Vendor name obviously is the one, in my opinion, I would keep because it goes from Dell to Dell Computer Marketing, right? It gives you the extra details. However, when I write a check personally, I've got a memo line. And I think that's something that maybe in the, whatever, I don't know what software you're using. It looks like maybe the bank software that's built in. But if you could just look into what that other options would be, that we could maybe include a memo line, or my bank offers a category line, that we don't need 2 names, but what else can we put in there as a description for these expenses?
Well, the other thing that goes along with the vendor identification and vendor name is whenever someone set this up, it could be called one thing in the vendor identification and then something different in name. And I'll use BB&T as one. In the first column, it's BB&T. In the second column, it's Truist. And I know it's because it's a merger, but that's throughout the entire document, that it says this in one place and it's this in another. And I understand, I know history, and I can say, that's the old name. It's not a renamed vendor. In other words, a different vendor. It's the same vendor, it's just changed its name. So maybe, and that's getting some community members confused. It's like, well, who's the check wrote to? They're not understanding that. So I think maybe cleaning that up some, of making sure both names match, instead of one saying something that was, because I caught one that was, I know had been at least 10 or 15 years ago to today's name. So some don't really match.
Sure.
And then the other thing, to make time expedient here, I'll hold the rest of them that I'll get with you on, and that you can get with Miss Miller.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Miss Miller.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims for payment as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
No.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Okay, a budget adjustment.
Yes, Board, you have been presented with the Resolution 2027-001. This is a resolution to the Page County Board of Supervisors requesting approval of adjustments for the FY27 school operating budget, the revenue and the expenditure category. So when we approved the FY27 budget back in May, of course, we did not have the final budget from the state yet. So what I'm attempting to do here is to balance those categories. So what I gave the Board of Supervisors as far as our different revenue and our expenditure categories has changed just according to our final state budget. Additionally, as you remember, what I would normally do if we were notified that we're receiving a grant, we're receiving additional federal funds or other funds, I would have created a resolution to increase our budget by that amount on both the revenue side and the expenditure side. However, because we have currently have more money in the state category of revenue than what is going to be actual, I'm adjusting that. So for example, when I read into record this resolution, you'll see that we have received additional federal funds. So I'm simply moving money from state to federal, and then appropriate expenses, so that we are not increasing our total budget overall. We are adjusting it to make it more true to the categories. So I would like to read this resolution into record.
Your summary is a net zero change.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
It's just the movement of money.
Correct. to the appropriate categories. And because we are categorically funded, it is important that I continue to update or to request these changes
By law,
from
you have
you
to.
and then to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
Whereas the Page County School Board is responsible for ensuring that all appropriated funds are expended in accordance with applicable federal and state laws, regulations, grant requirements, and local budgetary policies. And whereas a review of the FY 2027 school operating budget has identified the need to adjust both revenue and expenditure budget categories to accurately reflect anticipated revenues, staffing requirements, operational needs, and the intended use of federal and other categorical funding sources. And whereas additional revenues are anticipated from the following sources: Title IV, $2,725. Title II, $36,100. Title I, $205,000. School improvement grants, $143,770. And a Claude Moore Foundation Health Science Education grant for $21,066, for a total increase in anticipated revenue of $408,661. That's in those categories. Whereas corresponding adjustments to expenditure categories are necessary to ensure that these funds are budgeted and expended for the purposes for which they were awarded, and to maintain compliance with all applicable federal, state, and grant requirements. And whereas the requested budget adjustments are administrative in nature and are necessary to accurately account for anticipated revenues and expenditures within the school division's approved FY27 operating budget. And whereas these adjustments do not increase the amount of local funding previously appropriated by the Page County Board of Supervisors, but instead revises the revenue and expenditure categories to properly reflect available funding sources and operational requirements. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Page County School Board respectfully requests that the Page County Board of Supervisors approve the adjustments to the FY 2027 school operating budget revenue and expenditure categories as presented. Be it further resolved that the approval of these budget adjustments shall not increase the total local appropriation previously approved by the Board of Supervisors, but shall authorize the recognition of additional grant and other revenues and corresponding reallocation of appropriations among the appropriate budget categories. I'm just asking for approval on that amendment, or rather the resolution 001 tonight.
I'll make a motion on resolution 2027-001, adjustments to FY 27 budget categories.
Second.
So we got a motion by Mr. Breeden, a second by Ms. Bryant.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Mr. Bodwick? It's not on.
Mr. Breed?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now you have another resolution for us?
I do. I have Resolution 2027-002 for the request for additional funds for the 1% raise. This is a resolution to the Page County Board of Supervisors requesting an appropriation of funds for an additional 1% salary increase for instructional and support staff. Whereas the Page County School Board is committed to attracting, retaining, and recognizing highly qualified instructional and support personnel who are essential to providing a high-quality education for the students of Page County Public Schools. And whereas competitive compensation is critical to recruiting and retaining qualified employees in an increasingly competitive labor market, particularly as neighboring school divisions continue to increase employee salaries. And whereas the Commonwealth of Virginia, through the approved state budget, included funding based on the Virginia Department of Education's recommendation supporting a 4% salary increase for instructional and support personnel as an important strategy for strengthening educator recruitment and retention across the Commonwealth. And whereas the current local budget provides an average 3% salary increase for eligible instructional and support staff. And whereas the Page County School Board desires to provide an additional 1% salary increase to eligible instructional and support staff, bringing the total salary increase to an average 4%, consistent with the compensation level supported through the Commonwealth's approved budget and the Virginia Department of Education's recommendation. And whereas the school board recognizes the dedication, professionalism, and outstanding service demonstrated by the employees and believes that providing an average for 4% salary increase will strengthen employee retention, improve recruitment efforts, and enhance the school division's ability to remain competitive with surrounding school divisions. And whereas the school board has determined that additional local funding in the amount of $115,200 is necessary to implement the additional 1% salary increase while continuing to meet the educational and operational needs of the school division. Now therefore it be resolved that the Page County School Board respectfully requests that the Page County Board of Supervisors appropriate $115,200 in additional local funding to prevent an additional 1% salary increase for eligible instructional and support staff, resulting in an average of 4% salary increase for fiscal year 2027.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did they receive a raise in the previous budget along with the other staff? The instructional and support staff?
Yes.
And did they also receive the step increase?
Yes.
So this is an additional to that?
It's 1%.
Yeah, so it's,
And that was a budget.
Mr. Breeden, it was 2% and a step, which averaged the 3%.
Correct. And this is giving them the extra to meet the 4 for the
1%.
state?
Yes.
Okay. And it's $115,000?
Right. So that is the difference between what we are expected to receive from that compensation supplement from the state and what we estimate the cost of that 1% to be.
All right, well, I make a motion, we approve resolution 2027-002, request for additional funds for 1% raise.
Second.
Got a motion and a second?
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Breed?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Policy updates, Ms. Clark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Good evening, Board. Back before you this evening is informational items from the last meeting, 3 policies, and I'm requesting action on those tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You answered none last time, so. All right, I make a motion that we approve the policy update as presented.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Breeden and a second by Ms. Bryant.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Yes.
Mr. Breed?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. The student handbook and code of conduct, Ms. Clark and Ms. Heisman.
So we are back before you this evening to bring forward the student handbook and code of conduct that we presented at the last meeting. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
I make a motion, we accept the student handbook and go to conduct as presented.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Thomas and a second by Mr. Bodwick.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Breed?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now board citizen comment. I'll start with the students on the end and come work this way.
I don't think I have any major comments to say.
I agree with everything that we said, and I don't have any comments.
I want to say it's great to be back. There's been a lot of work over the summer, and change is very scary, even if I'm only here for one more year. So.
All right. Well, again, I want to say thank you to the community for coming out. I think again, having you guys be part of this process is very, very key to us. And please continue coming out. I know I said in my last meeting, I want to have so much community involvement, not just whenever these when we're talking about the hard stuff, but when we're talking about the fun stuff, when we're recognizing students and when the good times are happening. I want to have that same level of community involvement. I said last time that I'd like us to fill these auditoriums at the high schools that require us to meet here every single time. And so thank you all for coming out. I also just want to thank everybody that has put hard work into to our athletic programs, especially our coaches. I know that they're kicking off practices and parent meetings and all of those fun things. So please just continue to support our athletics programs, and I'll put a plug in here too that if you have any free time available, our booster clubs need your support. So please, if you're available and you want to volunteer for boosters, reach out to the athletic directors, and they'll be more than happy to direct you where you need to go.
I'll piggyback off his. I appreciate all the people who may not be able to make it to an in-person meeting, and you're watching via YouTube. And certainly, I encourage you to send us an email. I personally read the ones that's sent to me, forward them on to where they may need to go, answer back the ones I can answer. So your involvement, whether you show up here or you send us an email, we want. But please make sure that you have reviewed the website on the facility study. There's a lot of information there. That's where I have gone to find some information that's requested from me. So I personally love that site. So I refer to that. And I know there may be some hiccups for some of not being able to get some things, but that will get fixed. But if you incur that, send us an email, let us know where you find it and what's up with that, and we'll get that fixed. I see Casey nodding her head. The other thing is, I know if I was sitting home and watching, I'd notice this of why someone's always looking at their watch. I was looking at mine. I have low blood sugar starting the meeting, and I like to thank Ms. Clark for getting me the orange juice and other things to bring that back up, so we didn't have a major emergency here. I was on vacation last week and went down to 50, so I didn't want that to happen again. So if you saw me looking at my watch, it's just to check my blood sugar, and I know that would send me through the roof if I was sitting home and watching someone look at their watch all the time. My watch tells me my number. So no, I'm just checking my sugar, not the time. I'm here as long as it takes. God knows I ask enough questions to keep us here. I also want to welcome back all the staff that's coming back to start the new school year. I want to welcome I think it's 38 new teachers that are joining the family. And I say family because we are family. So I welcome them aboard. And there too, for the new ones that may be watching us, if you have some cares and concerns starting out and you don't know who to ask, send someone an email. They'll get back to you. The superintendent, he's very responsive, not just because I'm a board member, I hope, but he'll get back to you. I mean, it may take a little bit. He's got a lot going on, but he'll get back to you. Email one of us. If we know it, we may, and we'll just tell you. So we want you to feel welcome and here, and you were chosen for a reason. So so get in the boat. We'll hand you an oar. So the other thing I want to point out is we do ask a lot of questions because we get asked a lot of questions in the community. I received one today, and I said I would ask some of those questions, and I did. One, because I was inquisitive when I read it. So just know that the questions that you come in, we do take seriously. We want to hear them. We'll ask them, and most of them will go up on that facility thing if they deal with facilities, because I pass them right along to the superintendent, and he does distribute it out to whatever staff member takes care of it. So I appreciate that. It's very labor intensive doing what we're doing. Takes a lot of extra time and care. So we will get to them. If you have a 2 or 3 day delay, just know we're getting to it, and someone should respond back to you and tell you it's up on the site or give you your answer. We don't want you to hang out there and not know that your questions aren't being thought about and answered. So if a couple days go by, a week goes by, and you haven't heard anything, just email back to the person that you sent it. Some things do get lost in the cracks of everyday life, especially starting the school year back up with new staff and getting everybody's insurance changed and over. So there's lots of changes going on. So just give us some grace and we'll get there.
You can't add to that, ma'am. Sorry. You can.
So let me add to that for you. We are aware that sometimes your emails come to spam. So we will continue watching out for that. We've recently seen that today, or figured that out today. So if you aren't hearing a response from us in a couple days, we are aware of the spam issue. So we've, again, now that we're aware, we will watch for that. But if you don't hear from us in a few days, reach back out, because of course we want to make sure you guys get the responses that you need and deserve as we all work through this together. So my comments, it is super exciting to be coming back into the school year. I'm still kind of new to all this personally, but it is a great experience to do this with the community. That's what we're here for, is Mr. Breeden said, getting your comments and being able to respond to them and support the questions, work with our central office to make sure that what you guys are looking for your students, for your community, we support as a school system. Personally, I'm really looking forward to the bus ride, Dr. Johnson. So that is another exciting thing. Make sure you download that app, watch our students as they move throughout the traffic going to and from school. And then Mr. Breeden said something that I wanted to piggyback on. We are a family here. We hear that just in the conversations you guys bring to us. It's not just a building, right? There are people inside of that building that make the building what it is. The heart that's in each one of our educators, our support staff. So we are truly a family, and thank you to those of you that some of our speakers weren't able to stay for the whole meeting, and I would encourage you to do that as much as you can. It's not just the part of the meeting that you hear before you speak or even after you speak is what's important too. So thank you guys for coming out and speaking. We did get a student today that came up. That was great. So more students, if you guys are listening to that, come out and give us your opinion too, because honestly, this is what we're here for, is you guys as students. So come out, give us your opinion.
And they're future taxpayers, so.
Right, yes. One thing that I would like to be getting more information on is, obviously we've heard that the buildings are extremely important. As I've talked with some community members, there is some feedback I'm getting on, why did we build two separate high schools back when they were built? So if you guys have feedback on that of, hey, I like it being separate, I don't like it being separate, maybe you were in the schools when that change actually happened and you've got feedback from a student perspective during that change, come and bring some of that to us, because again, we'd love to hear from you guys, and we're all on this journey together.
Okay, I like that. But Mr. Bodwick, can let you an opportunity to say something, then Ms. Bryant and myself will finish.
Okay, it's a pleasure to listen, particularly to people that step forward from the community. And I think I'd like to see a list of them and their issues, and so that as things resolve or there's more direction, we can get back to some of those folks. They're showing great community spirit. Some are unhappy, and justly so, and some are unhappy, but they all owe answers, and we get no secret information here. This has to be not a school board issue, not a board of supervisors issue. It's got to be a community issue. And I feel a sense of responsibility to those folks. I thank them for coming forward. They can only help. We have no monopoly on brains on any side of any issue. So I look forward to hearing more of them and being able to get back to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Yeah, I have a question. So I know that Springfield has been our kind of hot topic, and I know that with Shenandoah, I know that would potentially be a move later in the future, but that was not one of the topics that we were discussing for the following year. That's accurate?
No, we were looking at both options.
But both options. Okay. So it's not just Springfield, or it could be just Springfield, and it could be Shenandoah and Springfield. Okay, because I think that I have missed that gap. I thought that it was going to be a progression of, potentially one waiting, and then in that situation, that is a lot of movement. And I think that the next thing that we need to have shown to what most parents are asking about is what exactly does that look like in a classroom setting? How many kids does that put in each class? What grades are we going to shift and move? We can show them, you did a great job. Your presentation really hits home as to like the burden that we are carrying right now, along with the Board of Supervisors. That's our financial burden. That's the community's financial burden. But what the parents are wanting to know, if we have to navigate this, what does that look like for their child day to day? And I think that is, and the Shenandoah piece is something that I really thought was coming, 2 years or so later, that we would make one move and then make another move. So
Could be.
right,
Could be that
right.
way.
Okay, so because I know that all of this is still very much movement, and yeah, I think if we can get a better idea of letting parents see what that would look like, yeah, and obviously discussing with our admin how they feel about that and all of those things. But anyways, tonight has been another long meeting. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the ones that are coming to speak out. We really do want to hear what you have to say. And if you have any continued questions, like Mr. Breeden was saying, email us. If it's lost in spam, we'll find that. I know. Thank you, Cody, for bringing that to our attention this evening. And I really appreciate the ones that are able to have stayed, because the entire thing is important. This entire meeting is important. All of them. You're seeing the budgets. They're asking the questions. They're helping. They're asking questions, and it does make our meetings longer. But it helps to communicate that through the screen, right? The questions that you all have, they are asking that and allowing us to understand it better as a community. So just get involved. This is something that is going to impact not just our financial situation now and in a few years, but hopefully our children will want to stay in the community, and this will also be another tax burden that we pass to them. So the route of passage that we take is not just for us tonight. It is for our children, and it is for our educators and the people that we want to retain. And so thank you all for being here.
Thanks for everybody that presented stuff, and Ms. Miller, thanks for your patience with us as we try to understand this, and actually probably changing your processes as we're asking questions. And I think, Dr. Huber, your presentation was great. I know the last meeting I was watching it from vacation, I was charting things out, and we talked about it, and you've got some things together that's really good, I think, to really show what we've got going on. Couple things for the community. Thanks for coming out, and I think I would encourage each and every one of you to get involved with your Board of Supervisor meetings. And there's a reason that we have a declining student population. And one of those reasons are our STRs.
Short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals. In my neighborhood, there was a family of 2 kids. They decided to sell the homes. 2 guys from DC bought it, no children, and they come visit every other week. Now, they pay a tax, but we don't get the $20,000 for the 2 kids. To be involved in that is very important, because what we're managing is the decline of our younger generation right now. It can't be any clearer than that. The other thing pertains to the STRs, and I think one of our participants or one of our citizens commented. We did a affordable housing tour of a place in Augusta, and it was myself and Amity, Taylor Alger, Megan, and some other folks, and we talked about affordable housing for our students as they graduate and they get that job, and will they decide to stay here, will they decide to move. And one of those things that came up with that was the properties behind Walmart, all those townhomes. And we said, well, they built all those things. That should have got us some kids, some children, right? It did not. There's a local realtor who went with us, who told us she didn't show one of those properties. They were purchased before they even went to market. And it didn't, how many children? Maybe 10. Maybe 10, not many, for all those homes. So that's what's happening in our county, and if you don't speak up, you're going to see a dwindling student age. Safety on the roads was mentioned, and that is very true, particularly here. I send my Board of Supervisor, Ms. Kyle, almost a text every week of a wreck between Grove Hill and 211. This past Sunday, there was a truck that ran off and busted the fence up, was turned upside down, right on its side at least. Every week I'm sending her a text. These roads are very dangerous, and there's got to be changes, and I'm talking to the Board of Supervisors about it, trying to get some things changed. So when we talk about these things, you got to take it further than just us. You got to go to them. Now, as far as the Board of Supervisors, they've supported us tremendously. I know Mr. Breeden might have a different point of view.
Oh, no, I say they have.
They have. But here's if I'm looking in my mind, if we go to a budget and we say we want to pay our students and keep the same framework that we have, and they say, no, we're not going to give you that extra $1 million, then that means we either, teachers and admin, nobody gets a step and a raise, or we make one of these changes, and when you make one of these changes, it's so late in the game and it disrupts everybody. That's why we're talking about these things now. That's why we're talking about them now. So stay involved, appreciate comments. We do try to take care of our buildings. As we move forward, we'll keep answering questions the best we can. I think we answered a bunch of them tonight, for sure, so especially the emails that I saw today. I think we answered, and even some of the comments have been answered. So thank you all. Appreciate it. At this moment, I need an action to go into closed session.
I make a motion that we enter into closed session to approve, closed session in accordance with Personnel Section 2.2-3711A1 pertaining to discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for school board employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the school board.
If I could just make a
Second motion.
all right, so that's A1 and A2, Ms. Comer. That's a friendly suggestion for your motion.
All right, that's for A1 and A2.
A1, A2, yes, sir. Yep.
Mr. Breeden?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Broderick?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.